Welcome to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, where our experts will share best practices on running your firm in the digital age. This podcast is brought to you by CountingWorks PRO. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant. My name is Lee Reams. I'm the founder and CEO of CountingWorks PRO and our sister company, TaxBuzz.com. And today I'm joined with a familiar face or voice, if you're on our podcast, Rebekah Barton, our Chief Visibility Officer. Rebekah, if you want to say hello before I jump into the subject today.
Hey guys, we've got a super exciting one for you today. I'm looking forward to it.
You're always excited and you're always looking forward to what we're talking about. But today I'm hoping we're going to open some eyes on kind of how the world is changing. And we're going to go over something called generational marketing. And then with that, the importance of using audio and podcasting and tools like that to reach larger audiences. So today we're diving into a major opportunity for tax and accounting pros. And the reason I say major opportunity is a lot of you have been doing the same thing for years and years and years, and the dynamics have changed, right? And you have not yet transformed into kind of the modern way, the digital marketing way, the audio marketing way. So by utilizing some of the things we're going to talk about today, you're going to really open up your audience and your channels, and you're going to be shocked, to be honest, how many more people you're going to be able to reach. So we're going to focus a little bit on how audio content can transform your client engagement and give your firm a powerful edge, especially in a crowded digital world. So there's so much noise out there. We're just coming off of the recent election. And one thing I think a big takeaway that both parties would not argue about is the way people consume media has changed dramatically. Long form podcasting, Joe Rogan, the All In podcast, really picked up huge eyeballs. I think Joe Rogan's interview with Trump had over 100 million views versus a CNN channel, which might have 4 million or 5 million views. So the mainstream media, the way people trust media, what is being said, how they trust content has changed. So, I'm going to kind of tell a story here. Imagine this: your blog has great tips. So your traditional written blog or a print newsletter, it has great tips and insights. But clients are busy now. They consume data very quickly. They may not sit down and actually read something. I prefer reading, just FYI, but I am in a Gen X demographic. And but at the same time, I consume podcasts and YouTube probably more than any other media today. So my viewing habits have changed incredibly. So think about this: your blog has great tips and insights, but your clients are too busy to sit down and read, right? And to spend some time. So with audio, they're busy. They can be in their car. They can be on their phone. They can, have their headphones on. Your content meets them where they are. So on the commute, during a workout, while cooking dinner, right? So we're going to explore how those things have changed, how different generations prefer different types of media, and how audio content like podcast episodes and audio blogs can help you connect with clients across all demographics. So Rebekah, thanks for being here. I'm going to go ahead and get started with this whole concept of generational marketing. We're going to share a nice graph, some research that Neil Patel's MP Digital, they put together. And we're going to kind of share some of the stats. And I think that's going to really set us up to get into the rest of it. So I started off, I wrote something, and I'm going to read it exactly the way I wrote this. I said, "Are you listening? As the audio horizon expands, the way audiences are tuning in is shifting," okay? So tax and accounting firms, you need to stay on top of these trends and start developing what we call cross-channel media strategies. So you're not just relying on your email newsletter or a blog, at least with a newsletter, you're pushing content to someone. A website is a pull. Someone has to find you. They have to know your URL. You need to rank well in search. So now people are spending all this time in these different medias, whether it be on Instagram, Pinterest, again, on all these podcasts, Spotify, things like that. So what has changed here is the use of audio is becoming very significant. There's over 70% of people listen to a podcast or an audio presentation of some sort every month. And Americans spend more than 4 hours with audio every day. That's incredible if you start thinking about it. So it's important to start thinking about these multiple lenses, and we're going to get into this now. So I'm going to try to pull up here. Let me see if I can share screen. So if you are on the podcast or listening to the audio only, we will describe this. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will be able to see the graphic. So This is what Neil Patel put together. And it's a chart basically he listed, or they listed on the left side, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials. There is the silent generation. That's the so we're not ignoring you. So you are there, but we're not going to talk about your habits here. We're going to concentrate on boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. So on the right side here, they put 5 for engagement level. So 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. So if you're looking at this visually, the oranges are the 5s. But surprise, surprise, baby boomers, what do you think is their most engaged level? Rebekah, what is it?
I would say email newsletters.
Yes, long form videos, email newsletters, and now even short form videos. Now, what's crazy is if you would ask this question 10, 15 years ago, I bet you boomers weren't engaging those. So for the boomer level, I'm just going to go through this. They have a 5 for email newsletter engagement, blog posts a 4, webinars a 3, long form videos 5, short form 5, images for podcasts only 2. Interesting. And text-based posts 4. So if you contrast that to Gen X, for example, email newsletters now down to a 4, but blog posts are important to them. That's trustworthy stuff. But they're giving 5s for these the videos, the long-form videos. They only had a 3 for podcasts. But if you start moving down to millennials and Gen Z, you're going to start seeing the audio, the podcasts, these videos, these short-form videos. That's how they're consuming content. And it's really important to understand even the generation below that, or who are your future clients, Gen Alpha, email newsletters, a 1 engagement, blog posts, a 1 in engagement, webinars, a 1 in engagement, even podcasts, a 2, text-based posts, 1. I think they're all spending all their time at TikTok and Instagram, mostly TikTok.
Some of them can't read yet, to be fair.
Oh, come on now.
Gen Alpha.
All right, you can put all the negative comments. That's Rebekah's voice, not mine. But I think we're giving a pretty good kind of overview of what's going on. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and those again that are on audio only, hopefully you understand kind of the things we're saying. But the question I'm going to start out for you, Rebekah, is it seems video, and we're going to talk about audio because we have some new tools and some new technology that we're using, and we're already having huge success with it. But why do you think audio content is becoming such a powerful tool in tax and accounting marketing specifically?
So all joking aside, audio is really, really important these days. Like Lee said, people listen to things all the time. Everybody has their AirPods in. Everybody's listening to podcasts while they work from home, things like that. So audio has become huge. In tax and accounting, one of the biggest reasons that audio is a great tool for you is that it makes things super digestible and easy to process. Finances can be tough. They're hard to understand. There's a lot of terminology that can be confusing. It can be dry. People reading a long form article about it, they might not really get it, or they might leave the tab because they just get overwhelmed and they get confused. Audio is super engaging. It's super conversational. It feels like they're sitting down at a coffee shop with someone, listening to them talk about this topic that might be overwhelming in text, but when they're listening to it, they understand it, they can digest it, they can break it down into little pieces until they really see what you're trying to convey to them. So audio is great, and it's especially great in personal finance and tax and accounting.
Yeah, and I think it's because of the complexity and then trying to break down, real high level concepts into something that someone who's not educated in the tax code, for example, can understand, I think is really important. So audio can make those complex topics much easier to understand and actually to enjoy and to get excited about, because so there's one thing to educate people. The second step is you have to get them to take action. They need to care enough to do something about it. And I would say to you and our audience, I think that's the biggest issue that all of us have. I need my client to care enough about something, even though, so for example, tax harvesting is something every client with a decent size portfolio should be doing. There's new tools created through AI that can make this real time, year round. And there's all these studies. MIT went back for, I think, 60 or 80 years, some crazy number. They went back and said, if you were proactively using tax harvesting, meaning you were harvesting losses and gains throughout the year versus just at the end of the year, and you were using like a real-time methodology, you would have had a 1.1% higher return, higher alpha than if you did not. Add that up over 40 years, you're talking about huge sums of money if you got an extra percent. The issue is, I just got all excited about it, but are CPAs offering this service to their clients right now? Are there RIAs? I think the super wealthy have expensive software, but there's tools out there today that can do that for almost anybody, right? At a very low cost. The question is, at what point is that pain and opportunity get people off the couch to actually take action? So I think that's an important thing, that audio and having conversational back and forth type discussions really can change things. So when it comes to this generational preferences, let's just talk about this. You talk to our clients. You just came off an onboarding call right now. Certain percentage of their clients are boomers. Certain percentage are Gen X. You have others that are millennials, Gen Z, a lot of gig workers, a lot of influencers, a lot of different things. We just went through some stats of where people are consuming content. So if I'm a tax and accounting pro and I'm like, I'm not going to do that, how are you ever going to reach those people? So how are you kind of pushing our audience along to start adapting some of those?
Yeah, so I think especially for our older clients, the people who are, boomers, they didn't grow up with this stuff. It's confusing to them, right? And it's new, and accountants are naturally averse to change and to risk, and to them it's a risk to dive into these brand new avenues. So I do a lot of talking about how I consume media, because I'm a millennial. I'm in the age group that a lot of people are targeting, because we're getting older, we're building wealth, we're owning businesses, we're needing tax professionals in a way that maybe we didn't when we were in our 20s and college, that kind of thing. So I explain a lot to them about what people in my generation are doing and how I engage with media, just to kind of give them a real world example of okay, if I'm looking for a new tax person, this is what I'm going to do. So this is why you need to be on Instagram or using video, or in this case, using audio. So I think the more you can show people the real world examples, even the chart you just shared, Lee, people like infographics, they like numbers. So I try to direct them toward reputable sources too. If Reuters has published something, or Forbes, that pertains to all of this, to generational marketing. And I also talk to them about who they're trying to reach, because that can make a huge difference, as we're learning today, in how they reach people and what kinds of marketing they need to be doing. But I think one thing we've learned is that across the board, audio is becoming more and more important across generations.
Well, you just set me up. I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about showing how this audio would work. I'm assuming you can see my screen okay, Rebekah. This is an article we did. So this is a traditional blog article. We wrote about the election that just happened. The House is still not done at the time of this recording. But let's just say that the Senate, we know, is done. President Trump will be taking over. Most likely the House is going to be maybe not majority GOP, but probably, maybe, right? So what's going to happen? I think we're going to have, the biggest tax reform opportunity we've seen in generations, decades. So how do you communicate that? Well, the traditional one, here's a long form blog article. We write these obviously for our clients. So if you're a CountingWorks Pro subscriber, this was automatically set up. But we're also now exploring audio technology. So I'm going to go ahead and just play this.
Welcome back. We're diving into some potential tax changes today. You sent over those notes about possible tax law changes.
Yeah.
Well, we've been digging into all that and really trying to break it down for you, so you know what's going on.
Exactly. We want to cut through all the noise and give you a clear picture of what you need to know for your, financial planning.
Yeah. No need to wade through all those complicated reports or anything. We gotcha.
Absolutely. And remember, we're keeping this educational, just focused on the facts, no political slant or anything like that.
Right. Our goal is to give you the knowledge you need to make, smart decisions.
Yeah. No matter what happens.
So right away, what have we done? We've taken a written form article. We've created, and this is technology enabled. So this is all trusted information we put in here. But we've created a casual conversation now about what are the different proposals. And it's a back and forth type of thing. I'll go ahead and just show you a little bit more, a couple more snippets here and just go ahead. But this is an example of audio blog, basically. We're calling these deep dives. We're including these for our CountingWorks Pro blogs now, but I'll go ahead and just give you another example, and then I'm going to continue on.
Changes could really impact how you approach it, maybe lead to some big tax savings.
Okay. Let's talk about something that I know you've been keeping an eye on, the SALT cap.
Yeah.
Especially living in a high tax state.
Right, the SALT cap, which limits, how much state and local taxes you can deduct to $10,000, while there are proposals just to get rid of it altogether.
No more cap at all. That would be huge for people in high tax states.
Yeah, you could see your federal tax bill go down, significantly.
Okay.
So again, conversational simplicity, speaking on your readers or your listeners' level, right? So these are ways that I believe you're going to start seeing different type of media out there. So if you're now one of our clients, and so we have some people that are jumping into podcasts, and let's explain a little bit about the methodology of actually doing a podcast of your own and getting your own users. So Rebekah, I know you're consulting and even using some of our AI assistant tools to help our clients create ideas for podcasts, scripts for podcasts, but kind of give some background of why they should be doing that and how to do it.
So podcasts are a great way to reach a niche audience. I'm constantly telling our clients that you need to niche down. And you've heard us talk about that on our podcast before. If you've listened to Lee and I on The Growth Minded Accountant, we frequently talk about niching down. Podcasts are a really good way to reach your audience in a format that is super digestible, super easy to understand, makes them feel like they're just talking to you about something that legitimately interests them. So I think podcasts are really one of the best ways to not only reach your existing clients and kind of help them understand more and more about what it is you do, but to reach other people within that target demographic. They're easy to syndicate. They're easy to promote. People love them. Podcasts are super popular. So there's really no good reason to not be doing a podcast, because in the long run, it can only help you. There's also an SEO benefit, which I love, because you'll all know by now that I am an SEO nerd and I love this stuff. So by posting podcasts, you're actually giving yourself social signals. You're giving yourself potentially new keywords in the description, things like that on other websites, high quality websites like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, places like that. So there are a ton of reasons, really a laundry list of reasons to start doing a podcast.
I would recommend a tool like Buzzsprout, but there's a couple others that are out there that make it super easy for you. You can use tools like Camtasia to do any of your editing. Again, non-technical stuff. There's apps now on your phone that can do some of this. My daughter was recording videos last night of putting my phone on top of a glass and water coming out of the phone, filling up the glass. And she did it on her phone in 3 seconds. I'm like, oh my, what's going on? But the reality is there's a ton of tools out there. And a tool like Buzzsprout, what is nice about it is it makes it really easy for you after you've edited your podcast to upload it. I also prefer and recommend you videotape it and you put it on YouTube. So you're going to have a whole group of people that are going to watch your podcast, get comfortable being in front of a camera. And I look what I look like. I'm not solving anything. I'm out in the sun. My daughter plays water polo. Yes, I am red right now. I know that, but that's reality. Get over yourself, get into it. And I think it's real benefits. So Buzzsprout is an easy tool, and then you can syndicate there to Apple and Spotify and all these different places. I think I was looking at yesterday, I think there's like 10 plus different channels. There's other tools out there. I have experience with Buzzsprout. Personally, that's why I'm recommending it. Also, when I'm saying put it on Google, you're going to get, at this point, believe it or not, we get more people watching our podcast on Google than we do sometimes on the syndication. So definitely a good thing. So when it comes to the SEO side, Rebekah, there's also something about people engaging your content on your website. So now I just showed an example of one of our blogs. So that's a CountingWorks Pro subscriber exclusive. That's what we showed you. It's not easy to do. It's incredible technology. Our subscribers automatically are getting this inside their subscriptions. But what does it mean now is someone sits on that page if they listened for the full 8 or 9 minute discussion, someone's not bouncing from your page in 20 seconds, 30 seconds, or they didn't have time to read it. What does that mean as a signal to Google?
It's a really good thing for you, to put it in short. But basically, the amount of time people spend on your website is a big ranking factor because it's telling Google that what is on your site is valuable. The more time someone sits on your website and they're actively doing something on your website, the better off you're going to be from an authority standpoint, from a ranking standpoint over time. So having these audio blogs that Lee said are like 9-10 minutes long, and maybe somebody listens to 3 of those in a row, that's a 30-minute activity session. If 50 people do that in a month, that's great for you from Google's standpoint. So you really, really cannot go wrong. Again, I know we've said it, but audio is great. And this is amazing technology. And it's a really good way to boost your authority without doing anything, right? This is all built out for you, at least on our end. So you're getting this with your package as a CountingWorks Pro subscriber, and it can do wonders from an SEO and ranking standpoint over time.
And I think more importantly, if you're doing these type of strategies, as we talked about, you're doing the generational marketing now, you're opening your audience to much larger size. But more importantly, I think you're building a lot of trust and credibility. We talk about it often as Google looks at it for eats and then financial related information. The trust factors, those signals are more important than ever on your overall brand reaching. So it's not, we've talked about this anymore. It's not just search engine optimization. It's search everywhere optimization. That is a huge difference when you're setting this up. You do not just set up a website anymore. It takes much more, right? So I know we've talked about it in other podcasts. Just really quickly hit on how Google looks at this eats. And then more importantly, when it's talking about your money, your life kind of issues, how they even put more, they want to make sure there's not fraudsters out there. They don't want to rank somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. It's giving bad advice. And if someone does an action on that advice, that is a big negative consequence. So kind of explain that a little bit.
Right. So yeah, I'll keep this brief because you probably have heard me talk about this before. But basically, Google at the end of the day is in customer service. They want people to continue coming back to them because they like the results they're getting. So Google doesn't want to promote companies or websites that are illegitimate, that are scams. So what they do is they look for these signals like site authority, like how many quality backlinks you have, how many places your website is mentioned, where you're getting quoted, the amount of time people are spending on your website. All of these things come together to form your site authority score, which is super, super important. So in the Your Money, Your Life space, YMYL, we call it, that's you as a tax and accounting professional. Google places even more emphasis on authority because it's something, people's finances are something that can affect their overall well-being, their overall, financial fitness. These are very important things. So Google's really going to be looking for sites that have a high authority score that people are showing they trust, not only on your website, but around the web, which is why something like a podcast can be great because it's getting that authority for you and helping to build that authority like a building block on other websites that are highly trusted.
Awesome. We're going to get into now what Rebekah has coined minisodes, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. I'm sharing right now for screen. For those on the audio, I'm going to explain what this is, and I will let it play as well. But we've taken this new technology, and again, this is AI-enabled technology that's helping us create these audio discussions, and we've also made them into basically talking firm brochures. And so it doesn't stop with just your blog content, right? So if you really wanted to connect with somebody, and specifically with some of these younger generations that are really into hearing about you, what do you stand for? What do you do in your personal life? I want to trust you. I want to like you. I choose to work with people I like and appreciate. I want to give them the money. I want to refer them more business. A tool like our Deep Dive Minisode, and Rebekah, you're getting full credit for that for our meeting, can really do that. So I'm just going to play one here we did for my tax lady. They're based in Charlotte, I believe, and I'll just go ahead and play this a little bit.
All right, so today we're diving into something that I think a lot of people can relate to, and that's the sometimes kind of tricky world of personal and business finances.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It can definitely be a bit of a headache sometimes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Trying to keep track of everything, making sure you're making smart decisions.
Yeah.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is. And, there's always something new to learn, some new rule or regulation that pops up. Makes it tough to stay on top of it all,
I hear you. So that's why I think this deep dive is going to be really interesting. We're taking a close look at My Tax Lady.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're a firm here in Charlotte that's really all about helping individuals and businesses get a handle on their finances.
So right away, the script here, the storyline is kind of setting up the audience. And think of these as almost like polished movies, or almost like little infomercials. We don't want to use that, but this is using a calming language, an intro. Hey, we know this is complex, but you want to make smart decisions. And then this will intro the firm and talk about the firm, but let's go forward.
Anything that's confusing.
I like that. It's like having a financial advisor on call.
Exactly. And they take the time to really get to know you and your business so they can take complicated spreadsheets, just clear, straightforward explanations.
Wow, it really sounds like they're trying to take the headache out of managing your finances.
That's exactly what they're doing. They want to empower you to take control of your money and feel confident in your financial decisions.
I like that. Okay, so we've got a good overview of my tax lady, but now I'm curious to dig a little deeper into some of their specific services.
Yeah, let's do it. There's a lot more to unpack here, and I think we're just scratching the surface of what makes them so unique.
Well, I'm all ears. Let's dive in and see what else we can uncover.
All right, so let's start with something that often gets overlooked, but is absolutely crucial for accurate financial management. Bank reconciliation.
Oh yeah, bank reconciliation. Sounds a little dry, I know, but it's actually really important.
It is. And a lot of people probably don't even realize what it is or why it's so important.
Okay, so break it down for me. What exactly is bank reconciliation and why should we care?
Well, in simple terms, it's the process of comparing your bank statements to your own internal records to make sure everything matches up.
Yeah, and we can go on and on, but we're going to leave the link to these examples in our descriptions here. So you'll be able to look at this more. But I think you're just getting the general idea of where we're going with this technology, and more importantly, what you should be doing as a firm if you want to step out and stand out today. So I think those are some pretty good use cases that we just went into. So what can you do with audio? How can you now do more generational marketing? So podcasts, get some audio blogs going, do a mini-sode. I think you're well on your way now to differentiating. And I think what you're going to find is this delivery of this content in this way is going to change the world and the way people absorb your content today. You're going to see higher connectivity with your firm. I think you're going to see more referrals. It's more shareable content as well. It's kind of something new. So it's definitely something to consider. So I kind of gone through what audio is, why it's important, how to start integrating this. Can you give one use case of how you would write a prompt for developing your own, whether not an audio blog, let's just go to a podcast. So would you, Rebekah, you go into an AI chatbot and say, okay, give me some ideas for some topics that I should do a podcast about. And then how do you break it down from going through a process? Because you don't just go out and say, write me a podcast on this. I think there's more of a creative side to it. So could you recommend or just give some guidance there before we start wrapping this up? I think I want to give a good takeaway there.
Of course, yeah. So I always say that talking to AI should be like talking to a person. The more information you give it, the better it's going to get to know you, right? So if you give it very limited information, it's going to be like an acquaintance. It's not really going to understand your preferences. It's not really going to understand what you want. So one great thing, if you're writing a podcast, think of a podcast you like. Tell the AI, I'm going for this style. I would like this to be in the style of this podcast, and give it some background on your firm. I operate in New York City. I specialize in working with real estate investors, and I'm looking to write a podcast that's going to resonate with people in this demographic. And I love the style of this particular podcaster. Giving it those kinds of specifics is going to really help hone that output and start getting you what you want a lot faster.
Yeah, and you're going to stand out. There's going to be less competition. Don't be a generalist. Don't be a commodity. By differentiating yourself and then focusing on that target audience through different mediums. So how are people absorbing this content? This is a really powerful strategy, and I think it'll be a game changer for you. So I'm going to wrap up. I think we've gone into how you can turn your blog into conversations, why audio is so important. I think building deeper client relationships, building trust, enhancing your brand awareness, right? These are natural ways to differentiate your firm in a landscape where I think there's so much noise, there's so many people coming after them. I think you can really stand out here by using some of this audio technology. And obviously, if you're interested in what we're doing with our minisodes, we're doing these for our VIP Premier clients. The example I just gave you, I think it's like 20 some minutes long. We also did a short version, which is like 6 minutes long. It's amazing. It's remarkable. And it really kind of moves the needle. And we've seen incredible downloads of these, at least the deep dive blogs that we're doing since we introduced this a few weeks ago. So really excited. Is there anything I've missed, Rebekah, before I do a closing here?
I think you did great. I love it. And I hope you guys will all take advantage of this because it is some of the coolest technology I've ever seen. I love it.
Yes. And it's might be uncomfortable for some people, but definitely I think the feedback so far has been so positive. It's kind of a no-brainer. So again, thank you, Rebekah, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in to another edition of the Growth Minded Accountant. We're kind of debating where we're going next. Rebekah might be off for an episode. We might get into how to deal with the tax law change environment. So again, this is since the 1980s. I think this is going to be the most significant tax law change environment or opportunity, so to speak. So what does that mean for tax practitioners? How do you communicate that with your clients, especially with client bases with a lot of boomers? There's a lot of issues we're dealing with: estate planning, selling businesses. If laws change, what's going on? What state is your domicile? So there's all kinds of different ways. So I think that will be the next subject or topic that we go for. And I think I'm going to bring Lee Reams Sr. in for this one. So it will be a fun conversation, a little more technical, definitely old school. He's been through many of these before, so he'll have a lot of great insight. So hopefully this is another valuable lesson in things that are happening, kind of trends. Here at CountingWorks Pro, we're trying to lead the industry forward in the digital age. Sometimes we're throwing out a lot of things. Some people are a little hesitant, but those that are jumping on it are doing really well. So again, we appreciate you listening, and please share our podcast to your colleagues that are not competitors. We want to keep growing our audience. We appreciate all the awesome feedback and look forward to seeing you on another podcast. Again, if you have any questions about the things we talked about today, go to countingworkspro.com. You can even schedule a free strategy call and kind of go through, what is this technology? How do you guys do this? This is magic. I want to check it out. So definitely feel free to reach out or hit me up on LinkedIn or Rebekah with any questions that you would like to ask. Again, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon.